Okay, welcome to the June 22nd Thursday chat. And I think, Paul, since you started, I think it was you to give that story. Let's just finish it. So for those people who, who heard you start about the implosion, you want to go ahead? Or who was it that made that, who had heard that announcement? What? Was that you, Paul Cheminsky?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So can we tell everybody what happened?
Well, what happened was that evidently the front end of it separated from the back end of it, and there was an implosion. They called it implosion, and they found all the debris of the ship, but unfortunately they weren't able to find any bodies in the area.
Okay, and thank you very much. All right, welcome again to Thursday's chat. We have some announcements. Sheila Palais.
Mute myself. Okay. I have an exciting announcement. Next Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, when many of you go to the Coffee Connection, this coming Wednesday, we're going to have a collaboration with the Coffee Connection and the Photography Club. We will be opening a new exhibit called Mostly iPhone Photography. 13 residents will be contributing to this beautiful exhibit. And for some of them, it's the first time they've ever exhibited their work. So we are all very excited, and we hope that the entire community will support us and come and have some donuts. And we're excited about the collaboration with the Hospitality Committee. So thank you all, and I hope to see you next Wednesday at 10.
Thank you very much. David Rader.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you to everybody for your positive comments about the Touchtown Newbridge app. I just wanted to take a minute and give you a few reminders that I hope you'll consider. So one of the reasons, one of our hopes for the Touchtown app, in addition to be able to find information and contact residents right through your cell phone, is that our hope was that this would be a tool for residents to be able to use to connect with other people. And the best way to do that is through the resident directory and actually updating your profile to share with the rest of the community things that you'd like to share, such as your hobbies, your profession, where you went to college. I have noticed that quite a few people have taken the time to update their profile, but it's certainly the vast minority right now. So our vision for this is that if somebody who joins the community and is interested in a game of canasta, for example, that they could simply type in the word canasta in the search box of the resident directory, and anybody who wrote in canasta as a hobby would come up in a list for them to be able to email or call any of those people. So I just wanted to remind everybody to get the full use of it, to consider updating your profile. Secondly, I just wanted to remind you all, for those who do not have a smartphone or a tablet, that you are able to still access the information from your laptop or your personal computer. The website that you would go onto is called communityapps.com. I'll put that in the chat. And once you go into that website, you'll just have to enter your username and password that we supplied to all residents a couple weeks ago. If you don't know your username or your password, you can give Joe Zogalis a call and he can help walk you through it. So I just wanted to remind everybody of those two things. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Chef Eileen.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. Just a few announcements this week. First of all, starting next Wednesday, we are going to have our dairy night in Great Meadow Hall. And we're going to, for now, continue having our dairy night in Great Meadow Hall. Now, the reason for this is because now we have the china. It's a lot more logistically better and it works better for us if we have it in Great Meadow Hall. So all we have to do is bring the china back to the catering kitchen. I don't know if one of you remember one time we had it just outside Great Meadow Hall and it just looked a mess and it wasn't good. So I think this might work best for all our advantage. June has a lovely poster that's going to be out in the foodie tomorrow. But we've come up with this because we think this is actually a better solution for dairy night. We're this week in the foodie, we're also going to put out the menu for the 4th of July buffet up in Centro. And it is going to be on from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. because I know Community Life has something going on afterwards. And then finally, Deb from the host desk has asked me to remind everybody that the Copper Beach is actually opened at 5 p.m. in the evening, not 5:30. She feels a lot of people come down around 5:30 and thinking that's the same time as the restaurant. So Copper Beach is open at 5 p.m. and the restaurant Centro is opened at 5:30. So if you want to come down to Copper Beach at 5, you're welcome to. That's it.
Thank you very much, Eileen. Okay, Matt, we have had a short group of announcements. You're on.
All right. Hello, everyone. Hope everybody's doing quite well. If you haven't had a chance to get outside today, it's beautiful. There's just enough sun, nice little breeze, really a pleasant day. I'm going to jump into the usual COVID stats, just so everybody has an idea of what's going on. Not much of a change from last week. It's pretty much exactly the same. The state of Massachusetts has 5 cases per 100,000 people, which is, we've been sitting still there for week after week after week. And then our county is 3.6 cases per 100,000 people. So again, from a risk standpoint, the risk right now is the best it's been in a while. But I do have a question for the community. And the question is, does this little report, is it helpful? Are you relying on it? Would you like me to continue with it? Or would you prefer that I only speak up when, you know, the stats are starting to jump a little bit? Because we're at a place now where it might make sense to just share this information when there's an anomaly or something happening that's out of the standard norm that we've been seeing throughout the summer. So if I could just get a yay or a nods or whatever else. So
Yes.
And so let's ask it this way. How many people would like to have Matt continue each week to give this brief report? Wave your hand like this if you do. Okay.
You want it every week?
And how many people don't want to hear that except when it's this new information?
okay, I think the don't want to hear is seem pretty overwhelming.
Yeah,
And I gotta say, I mean, I tend to agree. I'm not sharing anything that's particularly new. But what I will commit to doing is keeping an eye on it. So if something different shows up, you know, I'll be able to communicate with the community and help support our decision making.
we have a couple of questions. Why don't we take them before we
Sure.
move? Phyllis Hirsch, go ahead.
No, I don't have a question. That came up by mistake.
You raise hand. How about you? Is it Sharon? Did you raise your hand? You're muted. Yeah.
I raised my hand physically and the little guy on my computer waved a hand back at me, so.
I'm waving to you, Sharon. Hi, Sharon.
Okay, where's Barbara? Go ahead.
Matt, is this going to include, or does this include both assisted living and long-term care?
In terms of cases,
Okay,
yeah. So what I'll do is if I identify that there is a risk for us somewhere, and what I mean by that is not like a one-off case, but if I start to see some trending that we have cases that are increasing, I'll communicate. One thing I've certainly learned through this pandemic is the number one mitigating factor to the spread of this is knowledge. And so it's really incumbent upon me to communicate that with you all so you all can make good decisions on your behalf to stop the spread. So I am going to continue to watch this closely because I never want to find myself in a position, or you, in a space where we're having to alter our services and worry about everybody's health.
Okay, Marcia Manicelli.
Yeah, hi. Since I was probably one of the few people who put my hand up, the reason I did, and I don't think we need it every week either, actually, but the reason I put it up is that I think even just saying the word COVID and there's nothing new to report is a reminder that it's still around us. And I agree with you, Matt, that kind of people continuing to be careful is what matters. And part of that is not assuming that it's over, that we still do have it. So
Thank you for sharing that. I couldn't agree more. I just want to be respectful of everybody's time in this
I
community
get
meeting.
that. Sure.
And but you're right on. So once in a while, I'm going to mention it just to keep everybody on their toes. But otherwise, message heard. Thank you for the feedback. It just goes to show why this forum is so helpful. It really is. All right,
Okay,
I'm going to move on. So we had Third Plus out here last week, and I know they joined us during the Zoom chat. I got some good feedback from the Zoom chat. I got some feedback such around we need to coach them to speak in plain language, not necessarily industry jargon, and that way everybody can understand what it is they're actually talking about when they're here. That would be helpful for starters, I think. So I heard that message loud and clear. The other thing is they met with the food committee, and something came out of their meetings with the food committee that I didn't even anticipate. And it's one of those, when you're in the middle of it, you can't see it. But when you step away from it a little bit, you can see it much clearer. And what that is, and what I want to explain to you all, is the process in which they've been engaged initially, as well as where we are with them now. So initially, we engaged Third Plus to come in and do an assessment of our operations. Okay, so they did that. They fulfilled that mission, and some of you saw, food committee saw pages and pages of things that we could have opportunities with and work on. And so then the culinary team took those things and they started working on them. Okay, so there was a pause right there between our engagement with Third Plus. The second stage with Third Plus would be to hire them to actually have them come in basically side by side and work with us on improving and enhancing the food quality and the programs and the service and all that kind of stuff. As of 2 weeks ago, we have signed that contract. Earlier on, Josh shared with you the list of the things that they were going to be working on. So that is in full effect now. And so I just wanted to make that clear. This was done in 2 stages. First stage was assessment stage. Second stage is getting down and dirty and getting the work done. We are now in the second stage. So what's going to be happening is we're going to be engaging the food committee very heavily to help us with everything from menus, menu design, websites, process and organizational flow of the dining rooms, what we're going to have in terms of dining rooms in the future, things like that. A very long process. I'm sorry, I know a lot of you were like, I need this done tomorrow because, I don't have the time and the patience to wait. But if we're going to do this thing right, we got to do it right. So we got to be thoughtful about how we do it. We got to make sure it makes sense for our community. And the only way to do that is to engage the community. So we are now kicking off that part of the campaign. And like I said, it became clear to me that we did not communicate that well after I sat in on that food committee meeting along with Third Plus. So I wanted to clear that up. Hopefully that makes sense and I said it well enough. And if there are any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those.
don't see any as of now. We might as well move on.
All right, terrific. And as some of you may have noticed, Chef Eileen has been doing a great job filling in for Josh. Josh is sore. He's very sore, as to be expected with back surgery. So he's very sore. And I'm right along Chef Eileen, and I'm learning things I didn't even know before about culinary. So this has been a phenomenal opportunity for me as well. And I'm coming out of this with the reinforced belief that our culinary team is excellent. Individually, they are so strong. And what we're working on right now as a team is actually culture and making sure that they're strong for each other. Because when you work together as a team, the outcome is far greater than working as an individual. And so we're coaching, we're working on that together quite deeply right now. And so to Chef Eileen, I say to you publicly on this call, thank you very much for all your hard work. It's been incredible, and I'm enjoying very much working with you. Okay. In last week's letter, I think a bunch of you probably saw, for those of you that read it, I'm just teasing. I used to joke that when I put out my employee letters, which I do, that about 30% of the employees probably read it because it's the same stuff over and over. But in that letter, there was a blurb in there from Heather Margulis, who is in charge of our rehab services department. And Heather is really a cool person because she's very interested in the research side of rehabilitation and prevention of falls. And she's trying to explore whether or not our community population would be interested in using technology to basically predict whether or not somebody is a risk for having a fall before they'd have that fall. And so there's a couple different technological devices that can do this. I think one is a device that goes in your shoe. I think one is a wearable. And so there was a survey that I sent out, I think it was on a Monday, that asked for folks to fill it out. We got 35 responses. She's really looking for 50 responses. So I included that blurb again in my letter that'll come out tomorrow with the link attached. So if you have 2 minutes to fill it out, that'd be really helpful for us. The goal is here is if we can help you all stay healthy longer, that's what we want to do. But we don't want to go down the road unless this makes sense for all of you. We do not want to make any assumptions whatsoever. So your feedback is absolutely critical. So if I can make that request, I'd really appreciate that. All right, Jerry, I'm going to pause for a second for any questions.
Don't see any.
Okay, I'm going to keep rolling then. Since we're going, I'm going for it. Yesterday, we had a fire drill in the 3000 building, and it was in the west side of the 3000 building. And let's see, here in my hands, I have what's called an after action report, where security writes up all the details of the fire drill. They write up what went well, what didn't go well, who needs education on what, if there are any residents that need extra assistance, if any of the mechanicals didn't work the way they are supposed to. And so these are surprise fire drills. And I just want to share with the community that we are doing these. So don't yell at me when you get a surprise fire drill, because when we have a real one, a real fire, we don't get to plan for those either. So the request has been made throughout the community that we continue to drill and get everybody comfortable responding when there's an emergency. So Victor has been out there doing this, and this was really helpful. We got some great takeaways. And so Victor is going to continue down the path of unannounced fire drills. The security team will be there. Some maintenance teams will be there, and they'll do on-the-spot live education as well. So this so far is working out to be quite well. So I just wanted to share that with the community. Any feedback or comments about that?
No, it seems like we're on a roll.
All right, I feel like a really boring late night host. I got all these papers in front of me and nobody responds.
Oh, okay,
All
Blanche.
right, Blanche, yes.
So I have, shall we say, more experience than I'd want to about fire drills. And one concern is I wonder whether a vulnerable time would actually be mealtime, not at some odd hour when everybody's in their apartment.
Yeah, it would be, absolutely.
So I don't know how you can do that because you've got multiple dining rooms and people from, you know, cottages up there, et cetera, but it's something to consider.
And we'll be refunding a lot of meal credits, cold meals.
Well,
When
that
there's one
too.
challenge, it presents another. But you're right. I mean, I have never had an experience really that things happen at 9 a.m. on a Monday. They always happen 2:30 in the morning or 4:30, 5 o'clock on a Friday. I mean, that's just how it goes. And so we have to be prepared for those times. So I hear what you're saying. You're right on.
Maya, fine.
Could you share what day and time it was?
Sure. This was yesterday, and this was at 1:58 PM. And this took place in the 3000 West Building, 3rd floor, 3000 West 2nd, 3000 West 1st. And then there's actually a feedback by alarm by floor, which is great.
So should we, in the east section, have heard an alarm in an adjacent building announcement?
I don't believe so. You would have heard it if it was intended to be heard. I know Victor was able to isolate
Okay,
the
that,
PA system. I will
All
tell you one thing, that help got called, which is our actual fire response company. So they were even tested yesterday. Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Barbara,
Sorry about that. Being in the 4000 building and having experienced some either planned or unplanned type fire drills or fire alarm, one of the major problems, and I know you don't have control over this, but you cannot hear the announcements in the apartments. And that creates as much of a holdup in terms of how people react to the fire alarms. Now, as a floor rep, I try to have Victor up and William up to go through all the steps as simply as possible.
Mhm.
And it's remarkable to me how quickly people forget. And I think over and above this unplanned thing, we need to keep hammering home the idea and the steps to take if you're in your apartment, if you're not in your apartment, and so on and so forth. So good, bad, or indifferent. It's education, education, education.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And you know, the purpose for me bringing this up today is just to preemptively remind everybody that we're doing this. And we're not doing it to ruin your day or to disrupt your meetings or whatever you have going on. We're doing it because, frankly, safety is incredibly important. And if we ever find ourselves in a space where we have to do this, we want to make sure you know what to do.
thanks. Bruce Thorner.
Okay, I actually am on the 1st floor level and I could hear that alarm from the 3rd floor through the heating ducts. But I am concerned that, as I did yesterday, I just shrugged and said, oh, it's another drill. I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. So I just went on doing whatever I was doing in the apartment. And I am concerned because if there's a real fire, what would I do? Are we supposed to assemble somewhere? Are we supposed to come out? It would be helpful to have some education about that.
Prue, I absolutely adore your honesty. Thank you very much. Victor, do you want to either speak to it broadly, knowing that every situation is a little bit different, or would you like to follow up with Prue 101? How would you like to handle that request?
Yeah, so I could, I obviously, if there are concerns, I'd much rather do it in an intimate setting, one-on-one, and not in a theatrical environment like this. But for when we do these drills, we are very prescriptive at the impacted building on where we would like for our residents to assemble. And we're going to be changing that up situationally based, because I do want to, one of the advantages of doing these spot fire drills, and just for the record, I'm a 25-year invested person in this industry, and I don't believe in scheduled fire drills. I think that they're highly ineffective, and I really thank Matt for allowing us to do these spot drills, because they really do show me readiness as far as my team last second and how we interact with the engineering team. But we, if you are not in a, if you're in a building where there's strobe lights, you will hear over the PA repeatedly instructions as to where to assemble, or in an actual event, what the source of the fire drill is. The other thing too, guys, really please take advantage of a Tuesday with security. I'll be doing voice friends on these. We have a couple of really good ones coming up on scams and things like that, but we've had 2 really good ones on fire drills, where I have had the absolute honor of having Captain Mark Roach and former Chief Israel Jimenez to help present to us, present to the residents our plan and how we conduct things and what the response expectations is.
Thank you, Victor.
And just one last gift that the fire department has given me that has quelled a lot of the anxiety is the mobility challenge. And that's the one thing that we keep on learning is people who have concerns and are on the mobility challenge. But the fire department was able to tell the residents at the last Tuesday with security, if there's 9 people waiting at a stairwell to be evacuated, the ethos for the fire department is this. Number 1, life and safety. They go save lives. Number 2, they go to the source of the fire. And number 3 is the facility, the integrity of the facility itself. So if there's 8 people, 9 people at the stairwell, that mutual aid response will be focused on getting people safely evacuated. And the reason why I think it's important to bring that up is because that seems to be the biggest source of anxiety in this community. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Vic. And so you'll continue to do unscheduled fire drills. If you can attend the Tuesdays with security, please do. Those are great. And in addition to that, we'll continue to communicate one-on-one if need be.
Okay, Charlie Small.
In the past, some of these drills, I would agree with many of the residents that if you're not subject to this particular location, that it is very difficult to hear from our apartments. But I did also want to mention yesterday, or when it was, we were directly affected and there was no problem hearing anything because the flashing also goes on in the apartment, and that was very obvious. So there was no concern in that sense for the fire drill, but it is a concern when you're not the particular location directly affected.
Thank you, Charlie. That helps clear up a few things.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Blanche also.
Okay, I used to work in a building of multi-stories and multi-elevators, et cetera. And one of the things that might be helpful, and this doesn't affect me directly because I'm in a cottage, but in the buildings in the community center that have elevators, et cetera, is 2 things. One is to identify apartments where there might be somebody who has a mobility challenge and might need extra assistance. And maybe even assign somebody on that floor to make sure that person could get out even in a drill, never mind a fire. And the second was that in the drills we used to have, they had to be announced because otherwise, you're holding up elevators and everything. But they did check on people as they came out. We all have ID badges, and it might be worth actually making sure that people, even in a drill, have gotten out, because then you know where to go looking. Just some suggestions.
Thanks, Blanche. Victor, I know we do quite a few of those things, so I don't know if you want to follow up.
Okay.
All right, so Blanche, we just so you know, we do have a list of folks with mobility challenges. It's important that if you have a new challenge that you update security, so security can make sure you're on the list. In the past, we had what we called fire captains, and it's been incredibly hard to get folks to volunteer for that role. Exceptionally difficult.
Where I worked, it wasn't a volunteer question.
Okay.
It's called assignment.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, can I say something? Yeah,
Please.
so thank you, Blanche. Thank you so much. I love the ideas. We do with the Tuesdays with securities and the drills, that's our opportunity to kind of gauge each individual's comfort level with mobility, and we respond accordingly. But the other thing, Blanche, in the almost 13 years I've been here, we've had one limited evacuation. And I got to see very firsthand when there's a sprinkler head activation, we have multiple fire engines. As soon as the city box trips and there's a sprinkler activation, we're gonna have like 3 full-size engines here, including EMS. And I got to see firsthand that every single apartment on the affected floor and the unaffected floors, they went through with assistance from security or facilities to every nook and cranny of that building to ensure that all human beings were safely evacuated, and Jerry Weiner, their cats and their dogs.
And Victor, do we tag when we go through in that situation?
We do.
Yeah, figured as much. Okay. And so what that means is when we go unit to unit, a tag will end up on your door that says this unit has been checked. And what that does is it keeps redundant work from happening. So in that emergency situation, everyone can be as efficient as possible.
But I think that's one of the misunderstandings is people sign up for the list thinking that because they sign up that the fire department's going to go to their apartment, exclusively. No, they're going to everybody's apartment, and they're going to the source of the alarm and working out. And it's incredibly methodical, and that's such a good thing to see.
Hey, Judy Goldman.
I think it would be helpful for those of us who have a situation of mobility that we get more specific information about where we should be, who would be in charge, etc.
Yeah, that's from the beginning of designing this program. I really fought for certain things, okay? And I want to really keep things really simple because Judy, the fire is not the biggest problem here.
I know.
It's falls and what happens to your life after the trajectory of your life after the trauma of a fall. And I made it a personal mission to say, if you have any mobility concerns whatsoever, go to that stairwell and wait at that stairwell. Do not take any chances.
That's right. Judy, if you have more questions, I'd recommend that you reach out to Victor.
No,
Yeah.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
And
Blanche,
Blanche,
So I just wanted to amplify the fact that if there is an issue of anybody even getting out on a drill, to make sure that somebody around you, maybe your next door neighbor or across the hall, knows to give you some help. Because
great advice.
What we had, I worked in a very high-rise building, and what we had was people who were assigned to help some people to get out, because not everybody, even in what you consider normal buildings, can mobilize themselves without some help. But I would say the important thing is to make sure somebody knows to look for you.
Absolutely love that, Blanche. These sorts of conversations, just like sort of learning your environment, the more you do that, the more you're preloading muscle memory in the event something does happen. Love it, Blanche.
I do too.
Mary Salkema. Mary?
Am I unmuted?
Yes. Yes. go ahead.
I wanted to add to what Blanche was saying. I was in a fire once, and somebody on the stairwell had difficulty getting down, and there was almost like a mass panic behind that person because nobody could see that someone with a disability was on the stairwell. And so the actual fire was not the problem. It was a minor fire. It was the stampede on the stairwell due to panic. Luckily, no one was injured, but they could have been.
This goes back to Victor's point of if you have a mobility challenge, wait by the stairwell. We'll be along to support and assist. We have stair chairs. Fire department will arrive. We'll be ready for that. And to Victor's other point, this is a bit of muscle memory here. And, you know, I stepped on the hornet's nest a bit intentionally today by bringing this topic up, and I knew it would generate a ton of discussion. And frankly, I'm okay with that. That's what I want, because this is how we're going to become educated on how to respond. So I'm glad we're having this discussion, and I'm glad to see the community's input. And I know that for some folks, it doesn't feel absolutely perfect, but I can assure you in that emergency, we're going to shine. And we're going to keep talking about it. And I'm going to keep bringing this up time and time again.
Barbara,
One of the things that hasn't been mentioned, and I guess as a former teacher, it was drilled, pardon the pun, into our heads that we had to take certain things with us. I don't know that that has ever been addressed as part of the fire drill, that if you are leaving your apartment, what should you have with us? That's the first thing. The second thing that I learned from the fire department is that the fire people are running up the stairs at the same time that you're trying to get down the stairs. That's the major reason they don't want people in the stairwell unless they are totally mobile, because it's a two-way traffic going on.
okay. Blanche also.
So the only thing that we used to be reminded to take was our key, because that was our ID that allowed us back into the building. And so that is something that most of us should carry or have on our clothing anyway, but make sure that might be the only thing, not to run around looking for their toothbrush and their passport and all the other stuff that they might think they need. Those will come later.
We don't need the keys.
I would like to also say we came up with a gorgeous infographic on the most frequently asked questions, and that is like number 2 or 3 on that list. That's a great thing, and I've seen it posted other places, but these infographics that we're submitting to the community, there's a lot of work, a lot of stuff, and it's a constant evolution of us trying to just learn from our experiences and relationships with you guys, our members of this really special community, and just continuously trying to get better and better. But yeah, that frequently asked questions, it's frequently asked questions for a reason, guys. It's like, I hear it, like I got 12 years worth of that. So take a look at that. And here's the thing. These things require regular repetition and training for our departments too. Like I said, the reason why I really, really, really appreciate the ability to do, to have the autonomy to do these drills when I want to do these drills. Just like when I show up here for Easter or holidays, I like to see how my department runs when we're not fully staffed, when we have, when staffing levels are a little decreased, or when we're not during business hours. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Vic, I just want to say thank you. You do an outstanding job with your team. And I think I get comments all the time about your team specifically. So I know you guys will be there and at the ready and keep working on this for us. Much appreciated. Okay. If we're good, I'm going to move on to my last topic. And the last topic is window washing. We still have window washing going on the campus. We're using LA Window. They've been doing a great job. I've been hearing so far pretty good feedback about the work that they're doing. Next week on the books is the 5,000 building. So that's the clubhouse and the apartments in the 5,000 building. And as a reminder, they'll begin in public spaces at 7:30 in the morning. They will start your apartments at 9 a.m. So you'll see them milling about, but they're not going to touch your apartments till 9 a.m. And then the following week, the week of July 3rd, they're going to do the cottages, but they will not be doing any work on July 3rd or July 4th. And so they'll do the cottages at that time. And then we'll be wrapping it up from there, and we will have washed the entire campus. So with that, I'm going to open up to any general questions and anything you have.
Okay, Arthur Luskin. Unmute. Yes,
Hey,
I'm
Aaron.
audible now.
yep.
Matt, I'm gonna raise again the issue of 918. Has anything good happened?
So 918 is functioning, as you know.
Right.
It does not have the expanded programming on it at the moment, and that's because we don't have the human capital to do it right now. Meaning if Larissa is doing the programming in the community, she also can't fill programming on 918. The technology we have in Great Meadow Hall to show what's happening in Great Meadow Hall is not very good quality at all. So we've earmarked the funds to improve that system. And Larissa right now is in conversations with a couple different companies to figure out how we can resolve that issue entirely. So yes, things are happening. Do we have a resolution? We do not at this time. Do we have the funds to do it? Yes, we put that aside. The longer term challenge is, do we add a staff member to actually work on the programming for 918?
I thought that before this ended, we were getting broadcasts of whatever was happening on 918 from Great Meadow Hall.
We were, and that again was staff intensive. So they were the ones that were having to record it and get it through the system and broadcast it out, which, you know, adds a whole other staff member to be able to do that.
Okay.
And since Larissa has upped the programming, it just hasn't been able to do it.
Okay.
Okay, Blanche.
So remind me, you mentioned window washing for the cottages. Is that outside or inside?
Sarah, are you on?
We'll never know.
No, I think Sarah's been sending out information. And the other thing is Sarah will let you know before they arrive. She's been sending out voice friend reminders and emails. I believe it's exterior.
Okay.
Sarah is here. Sarah, do you give it another shot?
I believe it's all exterior windows. Sarah's all exterior?
It's all exterior windows.
Yes.
So those in the cottages don't need to know when it's starting.
Correct. Just
I will let you know when they're coming.
Okay. The other
They're
thing
still working on the lower campus, and then they'll be moving to the cottages after the president's house.
Okay.
Just don't be horrified when a truck full of people show up with long extension poles.
One other comment I would like to make because there are a lot of people, I think, who've moved into the cottages recently. And one of the things that surprised me was when a house near me had an emergency and there were 2 fire trucks parked in front of my windows, as well as 2 ambulances on the street, et cetera. And I think that if there's a policy of what the emergency mechanism is unrelated to fires in the cottages, it might be worthwhile once a year kind of maybe Matt sending out a reminder of what's going to show up. Because I know when it did happen and I spend my time in a room that faces the street and suddenly there's a fire truck in front of my window, I kind of wonder what's going on.
I mean, we can certainly share that if there's an emergency, there'll be emergency apparatus there.
Well, it's a question, not just that it will be there, but what it will be. It might be a fire truck sitting in front and blocking your driveway.
There's not much I can do about that. That's
No, but
really,
it's worth us knowing.
I don't think they'll be able to completely share from the town standpoint what's happening in terms of what pieces they're sending. Sometimes it happens to be what the emergency is, dictates what they send. Sometimes it happens to be what equipment happens to be nearby, ends up showing up. I just don't have a foolproof way of giving you that information, other than knowing that if there's an emergency in a cottage, you're going to have emergency apparatus there.
Which alone was sort of a shock to those of us who had not been informed of this.
Okay, I think you've made your point. Rona Goodman, what happened to you? You had your hand raised.
My questions were answered. Thank you.
Okay, Serena Kafka. You have to unmute, Serena.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Serena?
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute and it's not doing it.
No, it's fine. You're, just go ahead.
Okay. Just a comment about broadcasting on 9/18 when we have a lecture to the community, say on a 2:00 afternoon. If you have a broadcast on 9/18, you have a very minimal audience there in the flesh. I think that it's lacking a certain amount of community connection when you don't have people there to discuss the lecture in person. So I just thought I'd add a caution about putting everything on 9/18 when you're having a community lecture appear.
Thank you, Serena. There's been a lot of discussion about that. Really appreciate it.
Okay, anybody else? You had a note about Tesla.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. So the Tesla, we expect to see it any day now. It's in, they've been paid. We are working on getting the insurance stuff and the registry information squared away with them. So when it's here, we will celebrate. It'll be a lot of fun. So expect to see a red Tesla Model Y driving around the campus very soon.
So Judy or David Rosenthal, go ahead. You unmute.
Okay. A quick suggestion for people who have not had their windows done yet. When you get the heads up from Sarah that they're going to be coming, or even that day, just make sure your shades are up enough so that when they start going up in that vehicle and they're right at your window, that you have the privacy that you want before they get there. You'll hear them outside. This is we've already had our windows done. So from our experience, that was the only thing that we needed to make sure of. We heard voices, and then the next thing I looked, and there was a man crawling up the ladder right at the level of our windows. So close your drapes or blinds or whatever you have that day, and you won't have to worry about it.
Good one, Judy.
Oh.
Wait, so then Paul Chavinsky and then Terry Union. Unmute, Paul. No. You're not, I'm here. Okay, I took here.
Is
Go
it
ahead.
possible to get closed captions on 9/18 on the movie?
Larissa.
I thought we always have it. Was it a situation, Paul, when we did not have it? It is a default option that we always have captions.
Very good. I didn't realize I could access it.
Yeah, if it's not happening, please reach out to me directly. I will make sure it is happening, because in my humble opinion, it does happen.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Larissa.
Terry.
Oh, it's just curious, Victor, where, or Matt, whoever, where will the charging stations be for the new red vehicles that will be transporting people?
So Victor, correct me if I'm wrong on this one. I believe when you pull in the garage, immediately on the right-hand side.
That's correct, Matt. Second row, second space in.
And then when would you think you might be talking to people who want chargers in their garages, in the cottages?
So that's a conversation that we will have with New Wave, which is the company we're working with. Right now, we're at the very preliminary stages of that, so we're not even ready to have that conversation yet. We're still waiting on understanding the government incentives to put them in.
Oh.
And we have to go through the public utility to get all that done. So they're working on that for us right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad you're doing it. Terrific.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Okay, Carol Mullen.
Talk.
Wait, hold on, Carol.
Hello. Can't hear me? Can you
Yes.
hear me? Okay, that having charging stations for Teslas or for cars so that it makes it easier and more practical for them to come visit, to be able to charge their cars. Okay, while they
Thanks,
visit.
Carol.
Is that possible? Is that something in the future gonna happen or what?
It
You
is.
think?
It is. So we're not going to publicly put on a map that we have charging stations for the public at large,
Right,
but we will have charging stations on site. That'll be for our residents and our employees and our visitors. But you will not be able to see it on a network. So
okay,
be our little Newbridge secret.
okay, very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, I guess that, are you raising your hand again, Paul Chavinsky? Hold on.
I have a little side pictures, but I don't have anything on the main screen. How do I get back to, on that, add to the main screen back?
Well, I think we'll have to work on that offline and not tie up everybody else here.
He might have speaker view.
Yeah. Yeah, if you go up and look at view, you might.
Change it to gallery.
Anyway, thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody, be safe.